Welcome to In Such a Time, conversations on Jewish life, leadership, and meaning. Each week, Rabbis Jonathan Jaffe and Liora Landi explore the moments, questions, and ideas that shape who we are and who we aspire to be. And now for this week's conversation.
Welcome back to In Such a Time, conversations on Jewish life, leadership, and meaning. I'm your co-host, Rabbi Landi, along with Rabbi Jaffe here. And today we're going to be talking about my favorite holiday, Sukkot, which is also called Zman Simchatenu, a time of joy. Sukkot is a really, really special holiday for a few reasons. First of all, it means that the official high holidays are over. And we've kind of lowered our shoulders a little bit, taken a deep breath. And that's number one. And number two, it is such a beautiful holiday. It is one of the three pilgrimage festivals. It's an agricultural holiday, and it is about spending time outside. And on Sukkot, you literally live in a hut for a week. You have a sukkah, which is there's different measurements of what it can look like and what it can be. And you have the four species, and you decorate your sukkah with all of these fruits of the tree. And it's been such a festive and wonderful holiday for me because it's really a time that I take advantage of being outside with my family. And I love being back in the Northeast for Sukkot.
I was thinking the exact same thing.
I used to live in Orlando, Florida, where we would get eaten by mosquitoes every Sukkot. And then in Israel, you would just hope that it would rain on Sukkot. And if it did, that was great. If not, also even better, actually. And then here, it's gorgeous. It's fall, and I'm very excited to be talking about that with you today. Where do you wanna go with the Sukkot conversation?
Let's start with the weather, because I think that's so interesting. I have the same feeling about this. Growing up in Hawaii, I lit a Hanukkah under a palm tree on an 80-degree day. And so the idea of the Jewish holidays dovetailing with the agricultural and the weather cycle was something completely foreign to me. Living even in California, you really you wouldn't see it often. Sukkot is the warmest time of the year in places like San Francisco, where I lived. Being here and actually seeing the leaves change, seeing feeling the crispness in the air, being sort of like pumpkin spice season.
Yeah.
It's Sukkot. You understand Sukkot in such a deeper way. I know that it's really time to the agricultural in Israel, and this is the time of the matar, the early rains, and that you're saying just like now is when you want the rains to begin in the land of Israel. My wife shares from growing up in Israel, the sort of the quintessential memory is that you're in class and you're creating little paper chains to put and hang up and all of the things for all of the ushpizin, all of your guests, and then you sit and you make all of this food and you go out to your sukkah and you put it down there, and just as you get there, it starts to pour, and everyone runs away, all of the kids, to go flee from the rain, and that's the beginning of the rainy season. And we know that within our own tradition, our early sages, rabbis, really saw that as the sign of great blessing, as though even the prayers of the Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, that they've been accepted, was the reciprocation of the rains for the fall to allow for the growth of crops. I would just say one other thing, that I think that for a lot of non-Orthodox Jews, I'm going to speak specifically to Reform Jews, we are so missing out when it comes to Sukkot. I would think this is such low-hanging fruit, and all pun intended, that the idea of outdoor picnics, inviting friends over, eating really good foods of the season, spending time with your family outdoors, sleeping, camping. These are wonderful experiences to have. I would say much more enjoyable experiences often than sitting in a pew with a prayer book open in the sanctuary. I know when I drive down to New York City and you drive through Riverdale, you see all of these mirpeset, all of the apartments that have all of the Sukkot built outside, and I'm jealous of living in a community in which you go from sukkah to sukkah and visiting one another's. And I know that we have our own family sukkahs, and we invite over family and friends and congregants to them. I wish it was something that was more normative within American Reformed Jewish life.
So I just want to tell you a little bit about my experience in Israel, and also, but that's not where my love for Sukkot started. It started in America. We were like the only family with a sukkah. We'd have people over to our sukkah. It was so exciting, so joyous, to just have people over and like celebrate just this day exactly of like, or not day. It's a celebration of a week of having people in your sukkah to spend time together, and to just really lean into community. When we lived in Israel, uh, I I always wanted a sukkah, but we had an apartment. I was like, where are we going to put a sukkah? And when we had kids, I was like, well, I am not having my first Sukkot with my child without a sukkah. So we went out, um, like Erev Sukkot. This is like 2 days before Sukkot. And there was a pop-up shop that, here we have like Halloween pop-up shops. So like this was the barbecue pop-up shop during the Independence Day season, like in the spring. And then in the fall, it became the Sukkah pop-up shop. So we went in, we bought a sukkah, and sukkahs here in America are usually like they have like a plastic film on them so that they're weather resistant. In Israel, they're cotton so that they're breathable.
Ours is cotton as well, yes.
And we got this beautiful sukkah that fit onto our balcony, the perfect balcony, and this really beautiful scene of like the 7 species of Israel. And I go on Erev Sukkot. I should have gone before to the religious council, and I'd pick out like a lulav and etrog, and every year they'd be like, "Where's your husband?" I said, "I didn't come with my husband." I said, "I'm picking it out. I know what I want." I feel the etrogs, and they'd be like so perturbed by me. Like I just like stand there for like an hour, like smelling things and touching things because I like to touch things. And I come home with a lulav and etrog, and you're like, and the week before that, right after Yom Kippur, the town goes around and they cut all the palm trees so that you could take the palm tree leaves and put them on your sukkah. I always miss that. So I always have to pay for it, which would make me so upset. But when we got to America, I've talked about my my hairstylist Jacob before, but one of the first things he asked me when I met him, he's like, "Do you have a sukkah guy?" And I said, "I don't. I need a sukkah." So he set me up with a sukkah. And why am I telling all this? Because not just because it's my favorite holiday, but Sukkot is something so unique. It's about being joyous and creating traditions to be joyous. I know so many of us admire the Christmas tradition of putting up lights and getting a tree. Like we have this holiday.
Right.
We do this. We decorate, we celebrate, we have special rituals. We can make special foods if we want, songs, time together, and we have 8 days of it or 7 days of it. But beyond that, beyond just like the beauty of celebrating the land and the agricultural cycle, often Jewish holidays, pilgrimage, agricultural holidays are given historical significance. And the historical significance of Sukkot is supposed to remind us of the wandering in the desert, where the people were stuck in the desert for 40 years. They had nothing but a hut to live in. And it's supposed to teach us about impermanence. And what's so beautiful to me about the idea of Sukkot is that in the desert, in the nothingness, is where the Jewish people become a people. Like the in between time of hanging out and being a family and creating little rituals, it became bigger rituals. That's where we became the people of Israel. It's in that impermanence, in that lack of structure, in the survival. And to me, that along with everything else around it, it's just so deeply moving and exciting.
Right. And I think that we really connect when it comes to this. It makes me think of the Israeli philosopher Moshe Halbertal writes about the Midbar, the time of the wilderness, as 2 contradictions. It can either be read as the honeymoon period for the people of Israel and God, or boot camp for the Israelites. The boot camp is you go out to the wilderness, you have to be trained on the 613 mitzvot, you have to learn to live off of the manna and go where God tells you to go and do the things God wants you to do. And it's very much a rigorous training for the future. Whereas the other viewpoint is that no, it's a honeymoon, that following Sinai, there's 38 more years in the wilderness, and the people don't have to spend their time making food, don't have any jobs, occupations, lands to take them up. It's a time of spiritual connection, and I feel like Sukkot is so emblematic of that. So I'll connect and tell you, like, for me, what Sukkot is really impactful. I think Sukkot teaches us at the very beginning of the year, having now brought in the new year and dealt with our past misdeeds, regrets with Yom Kippur, that the best, surest way to start off to a meaningful year is to get lost. That is, get out of your structure, get out of your routine, get out of your normal scene, go out, build something flimsy and temporary, be outside, explore, make yourself vulnerable, make yourself open, available. And it makes it makes me think of not only the fact that in the Torah we learn that the commandments are given not in some city in Israel or not in some specific perfect highest mountain, but is given in the middle of the Midbar, in the middle of Sinai, at a mountain that we're not supposed to know where that even is now, that the Jewish people have to get lost in
I love
order
that.
to receive Torah. And it is because so much of what we experience in the world, so much of the meaning that we take in life, um, is experienced in the moments when we leave our routines and our comforts of home behind. Think about, why do people go on vacations elsewhere? Why do we send a lot of our kids and our kids to summer camp? Why do we go out and to explore? It's to push ourselves outside of our normal assumptions and to make ourselves available to life-changing experiences that we would ordinarily not have. And Sukkot tells us it's the most important thing. It's the first thing we're gonna do of the year. We're gonna get outside. We're gonna get lost.
We're going to get lost, and we're going to exercise our petition power. We're going to pray for rain. I'm changing it from the historical and now to like the agricultural again. Like, it's our way of knowing if we believe in this kind of God, but it's our way of knowing where we stand with God, because the rain is supposed to tell us, like, is this a year of blessing or is this not a year of blessing? And whether you believe in that or not, like, your deeds result in rain or don't result in rain, there's like something very beautiful about being so in touch with the land that, like, you're thinking about that. Is this going to be a year that we have sustenance? Is this going to be a year that we struggle? And I love that at the end of Yom Kippur, like, of the highest level of, like, of ascent in your heart and of being, of like ridding yourself of all the worldly things, the next step that you have is like creating joy out of so little. You so little.
You don't need much.
You don't need much to be joyous.
Right.
You need walls, not even that many. You need a little bit of roof, enough to see the star. You still have to see the stars. And it's a very grounding. It's very grounding, even though it's supposed to be the opposite of that. It's like telling you that you're nothing in this world and your sukkah could fly away. But for me, that's very grounding.
It's almost like I don't know if you know this practice, but some would say that in order to avoid jet lag, when you arrive, you're supposed to take off your shoes and you're supposed to like get your feet in the grass. And it's called like a grounding. And it's a way of like getting yourself like into the place that you are. And it's almost like a grounding experience after Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. And I think that you speak about the rain here, it's not just that you're built that you can build a flimsy structure. You are supposed to. You cannot, if your sukkah is completely sealed off from the rain, it's not a kosher sukkah. It has to have holes in it. It has to leak. It has to drip on your head when it starts raining outside. Like, that's the entire point. If you hermetically seal yourself off from the outside world, you are not getting lost. Much as if you go on vacation every time and stay at the Four Seasons, you are not getting lost. It is making yourself available to all sorts of random acts that come out at you in life that you can't always just wall yourself off from.
Can I share a story?
Love them.
I have many Sukkot stories because it's interesting. I like really think when I think about Jewish experiences, so many around Sukkot, because it's just been very influential and exciting for me. But last year we built a sukkah in White Plains, and we had a windy week, and there was also a lot bubbling in the world. And I got home, and my husband, Omer, he had spent several hours meticulously putting together a sukkah. It was so beautiful. We had chairs in there, we had a table in there. We get home, the sukkah is destroyed. And we're like, is this anti-Semitism? Did someone destroy our sukkah?
Uh-huh.
And
Anti-Semitic raccoons.
exactly. And our neighbor, a non-Jewish neighbor, she had seen it happen, and she was about to tell us, and she's like, no, the wind blew it away. And so we like laugh for a second at how crazy the world is that we would even make that assumption, and also saddened by it. And then we built it again.
Yeah.
And enjoyed it again. And there wasn't even a question. We're not gonna just put it away for next season. We built it again because that's what you do. You just keep going on.
I'm gonna share a story as well, and it actually has nothing to do with Sukkot, but for me, it's everything to do with Sukkot. Before my younger daughter Samara went off, she's studying abroad in Israel right now. We went on one of our famed father-daughter bike rides. We have this double bike, this old Schwinn bike that we bike around on, and while I know a lot of people like to bike out in nature, I actually really love urban biking, as we've discussed, because you go to all of these neighborhoods and you get lost and you see things you would never see and meet people you would never meet. So we did this bike ride on the double bike. You're coming from all the way up in Harlem. You bike down the east side of Manhattan, cross the Brooklyn Bridge, and go up the west side of Queens and Brooklyn and up through Randall Island, back up. And it made me think of, in reading the Adventures of Huck Finn. Huck Finn and Jim are on this raft going down the Mississippi River. And the story of the Adventures of Huck Finn is, as they go down the river, they encounter all of these scenes and people and communities, and they suddenly like are aware and avail to these people and temporarily are part of their lives, and then quickly get on the raft and keep floating down the river. And we were just like that. We were biking from one little neighborhood to another, and well, there's a barbecue, there's a picnic going on over here, and here's a quinceañera going on over here. Here's a
party favor and a steak.
Exactly. Or we're eating our way through the whole time, of course. And it was getting lost. Like, that is the essence. And I think about the times in my life where I have had the greatest spiritual maturation, and it has been when I was away from my safe surroundings and pushed out of my comfort zone. And that is where I received Torah in Sinai. And I'll say one last thing, and this relates to my love of spending time in Israel, because Israel is a place where I love to get lost. And I know that security-wise, you can only get lost so many places, and especially these days, but I have allowed myself to get lost a lot of times in Israel. And in those moments, I have had moments of profound spiritual growth. And when I now go back and visit Israel, there are ghosts on every corner. And I walk around and I see, when you especially walk around like in Jerusalem or in Tel Aviv, you read all the names, and it's basically teaching you Jewish history as you meet them. And on top of all of the historical names, I see myself at all of these different corners, some of them in wonderful moments, some of them in deeply painful moments, but all moments that have made me who I am while I was lost. And I think that Sukkot is a way to ritualize the value of getting out of our comfort zones. Something that I think that in modern society, we have less and less opportunities to do so.
Yeah, like the flavor of life is going against the algorithm.
Yeah.
And I think Sukkot is an opportunity for that. I share a love of getting lost in cities. The phone has ruined my life a little bit in that way. Because I don't like, I'll know where I'm going, or I'll look at it. I'm like, this is goes against the whole point of what I'm doing. But Sukkot is also like, it's getting to acknowledge also the past. We have these ushpizim that we bring into our sukkah. And every night there's a spiritual tradition of inviting in historic guests and real guests as well. Like, not just ghost guests, but also real people. And so we get to visit different iterations of ourselves as the Jewish people on each night of Sukkot. Which is so much in line of like going back and looking at ourselves and seeing how we've explored, how we've grown, who we were over the different ages.
Right. I heard an earlier podcast talked about Rabbi Lawrence Kushner, who to me was really influential, and in his family home, he has to take a picture in their sukkah every year, and he has 30, 40 years of pictures of his family, from single to babies to grandchildren, all at the sukkah. And what a beautiful time about exactly that, about ushpizin, and thinking about, and that by that I mean that's the word for guests that we bring in. It's also about thinking about who are the people who have paved the way for us, who are the people that mentored me, that pushed me towards who I am, or who are those people that, often say, like, if you could have met one, if you could have gone to a concert of one band or the lead singer died, or you could meet someone, who would you have dinner with? It's a question of asking, like, if you were lost, who'd you like to be lost with? Who'd be your companion in that?
The really nice thing about Sukkot is it is one of the times that I really try to fill up my social schedule. Like I try to either be in someone's sukkah or to have people in my sukkah. And it's like I think about it. I mean, it's we've talked about this before, and I get excited about the Jewish calendar because it has certain built-in mechanisms for me to remember to just be a human being. So Rosh Hashanah is about the high holiday season, the internal reflection, like thinking about myself in the world, and then you get to Sukkot and you've done a lot of internal work, and now you're like, all right, I'm ready to be a person again. I'm ready to engage with my people again.
Well, I love as well that we're the obligation is that as moment that Yom Kippur ends, you're supposed to go out and you're supposed to put the first stake in the ground for your Sukkot, and that is to say, you've spent a full day and period beforehand breaking yourself down, and now you're going to build. So there is a physical building up as there is a spiritual rebuilding, and they go hand in hand. Yeah. And one of my more recent connections to Sukkot is that I really like to listen as podcasts to high holiday sermons of some of my colleagues while I'm building the sukkah. And so I have lots of colleagues out there, and I don't get to hear what they have to say, and I can read them later, but to listen to their words of Torah as I build the sukkah is really nice. Our sukkah, I have to say, is made of steel frames that are screwed together and such, so it does not blow over in the wind, or at least not recently. And what I've done is made a bit of a tradition here where I invite over our 10th graders, our confirmation students, to come over and to build the sukkah, because many of them have never built a sukkah. They've never been in a sukkah before, some of them. And I want them to know what a sukkah is.
Love it.
When I go to college, they're going to have the Hillel, the Chabad is going to have a sukkah. I don't want them to say, what's this? And they really enjoy it. And then my wife and kids get to work on decorating the sukkah. And oh boy, do we have an attic full of decorations. Trust me, if we were Christian, we would have such a fantastic train set and presents and tinsel, etc. But we don't. We're Jewish, and we have an attic full of Sukkot decorations and posters and artwork and lights that go up. And maybe that's making it not lost enough because you're making it too nice of a structure. The fact that I can attach a 80-yard cable to the electricity to put lights up all over the sukkah makes it really nice as well. But to do that as a way of, the holidays are over, just like you said, for we clergy, it's often like that was the most stressful time as well in making sure to be there for our congregation. And now we're going to build something new. Even if it's impermanent, that doesn't mean that it's not meaningful.
In Israel, Rosh Hashanah to Sukkot this year specifically, not all years, but it's break from school. Which conceptually is beautiful. In practicality, that's really difficult for working parents. But on Sukkot, there's so many opportunities to have fun. And everywhere you go, there's different Sukkot activity, different Levinetric activities. And one year we took part in building a Lego sukkah, and we took part in building a magnetile sukkah. And so I just want to encourage, we've done graham cracker sukkahs, but I just want to encourage, even if it's not your tradition to have a sukkah, and you don't want to go out and make a sukkah or buy a sukkah. And if you do, we'd love to help you do that. But find some way to celebrate it in go out in nature, do something joyous, do something purposeful, intentional, Jewish. We'd love to help out and help you figure out what that means to do it.
I have one other suggestion for this. First of all, you should build a sukkah, and it's not hard to do so. And
Not hard to do.
And they sell wonderful kits online to do so as well. I was at the kosher grocery the other week, and already at Bingo they're already selling skach and things to put on your sukkah. But you said, Queens, I want to go to that this year. Yom Kippur is Wednesday night and Thursday. That's on, so on Friday, October the 2nd, or especially on Sunday, October the 4th, go to Kew Gardens.
Yeah.
Go to the corner of Main and Jewel. See all of the kids all up and down the streets selling lulav and etrogs out on the street.
Yeah, just like Girl Scout cookies.
Just go eat at Grill Point at Main and Jewel. Have some great shawarma, fantastic, and then walk around, and you'll feel Sukkot in the air. And again, for someone who grew up and spent much of my adult life as well outside of Jewishly cohesive neighborhoods.
Yeah.
The idea that the feeling of having Sukkot in the air is so lovely in such a way you can even that way live a bit in the world of Sukkot, even if you're not building your own sukkah. Although again, you should build your own sukkah. It's so much fun. We'll help you out, right? So let's end on one thing. I want to talk about one more time in my life, or things I've learned while getting lost, because that for me is comes in, and I want to make sure that there's opportunity, that's something you want to share about, not that you have to at all. But years ago, when I was I studied abroad in Israel my junior year, my junior year of college, and for Passover we had a long break, and I went with friends traveling down the western coast of Turkey, down from Istanbul down to Ephesus, and then I ended up going across the Greek islands with some of them, and then I went by myself after that because I wanted to go to Athens, and then being a big philosophy guy growing up, I wanted to go to Delphi to go where the oracle at Delphi is, where I read about all the Greek mythology. And so I took a little rickety bus by myself, and Delphi is like off in the mountains, and there's like fog, and there was like clouds hanging on the hills, and it just felt like I imagined exactly like Delphi to be. I think I hitchhiked from there, like back down, and I was off the beaten path, and I just remember feeling so alive at that time. I was 21 years old. I was by myself. I know that's much easier to do as a male, to go by yourself and hitchhike and such. I don't take that for granted. The experience will always stick with me in terms of remembering myself at a time of life where it was all wonder, opportunity, potential, and finding myself whether it was, I think, like sleeping overnight on the deck of a boat from like one of the Greek islands to Athens, getting bed bugs in Athens. Yes, not when you're on your own, and when you get lost, things can happen as well. That once you settle down and make a family and such, you really have to pursue moments of getting lost.
Yeah, I'm like reminded of the fact that in the desert, when you're surviving, like when you're getting lost, because there's a difference, like surviving is very existential and makes you feel alive in many ways, even if it's not easy. But Sukkot reminds us of fragility and impermanence, and there's so much beauty in not knowing what's going to be.
Right. And some would say that life is less meaningful because it is impermanent, but that's actually where life gets its meaning from. The fact that it's so fleeting means that every moment is so important.
I mean, Western society is by far so much more unhappy because we have so much that's already set out for us, and it can become monotone. Whereas in places where it's sometimes harder to live, it's a little bit more colorful. And there's less depression, and there's less loneliness, a little more chaos. But there's a price for each one of those things. There's a price for rootedness, groundedness, and also to live like kind of floating and with wonder and wander.
Well, Chag Sukkot Sameach to you and to your family.
And a happy one.
Yes, and I hope theirs doesn't blow over this year, and that you have.
It does.
And you have many great Ushpizin along the way.
Same to you.
Okay.
Chag
Sameach.
Thanks for joining us on In Such a Time. Make sure to subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts. To learn more about Rabbis Jonathan Jaffe and Leora Landi, or to connect with Temple Bethel of Northern Westchester, Visit bethelnw.org or follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Temple Bethel NW. Thanks for listening.